let's get this going. Welcome everybody to Talking Niagara. It's 7 a.m. It's Wednesday. It's Talking Niagara time with myself, Peter Giblett, and himself, Dave Wheeler. Good morning, Dave. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Yeah.
Good morning on September 17th.
Before we get on to the news, very sad thing. Robert Redford died yesterday, age 89. And the reason basically, I loved him. He was a charming person, and then he did nothing for 40 years. Well, he did actually, but it seemed like he did The Sting, and then 10 years later he did The Natural, and those were kind of by far and away the best things he ever did. And they were early in his life, right?
Well, Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid.
Butch and Sundance, yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
So
here we go. We have another icon that's gone. He didn't actually just disappear. He got into directing and other things like that.
Yeah, I know.
And producing. But remember, too, also the roles begin to dry up for men later than they do for women. So leading women have a very short, a much shorter shelf life.
Yeah,
because their looks go. But a man, a distinguished older man, can hang in as a leading man for a while longer than a woman. But sooner or later, the leading man status leaves men as well. Yeah. And he was basically a leading man. So you can't really see him as a character actor or a part-time actor. If you notice, a lot of the actors these days, male actors, are diversifying their roles earlier on in their lives so that they're more actors rather than leading men. And I think probably that's one of the reasons why Redford probably didn't continue acting. And he probably was fed up with that kind of thing anyway.
I was looking at. He's got films all the way up to 2018. He's done films. He did a film called Buttons in 2018, which I know nothing about. Pete's Dragon, of course, we know about that. Captain America, although I don't remember don't really remember his role in Captain America. So he's done those in the last decade.
We sort of compare him to a guy like Michael Caine, who went right from he was a very good actor from the very beginning, and he had a diverse amount of roles.
Yep.
I think one of the most incredible roles that he did that people forget about is his role in a movie called Little Voice, and where he was kind of a rough, gangsterish kind of guy. He could do any kind of Cockney accent or any kind of English accent or British accent and or American accent. So he could fit in. His roles. And he also began in theater too. So I don't know about Robert Redford, but Robert Redford was like the heartthrob. So it's pretty hard to transition from the heartthrob to other roles.
To old man.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they do. They each person does, and I think the big thing for him was going into directing and on the other side of the film industry.
Well, as Clint Eastwood did too. He devoted himself more towards directing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like Mel Gibson said, when he was of course an actor, and then he switched over to directing and got an Oscar for directing. And he got up and he says, just like he says, I was an actor, and just like every good actor, I wanted to be a director. Now that I'm a director, like every good director, I want to be an actor again.
Yeah, but at least as a good director, you can actually find a role for yourself sometimes. Sometimes what will happen is that film will come your way and you go, oh, yes, I make the perfect this character, right?
Yes. So that we have Well, and I don't know much about Robert Redford. He was left of center politically, so I think he also went into environmental stuff, but he wasn't one of those guys that stuck out so much and railed on policy or something like that. But he had a clear view of where he was politically. But that's America. You can be anything you want. Where John Wayne was more right wing, he's more left wing. So big deal, And the fact is, I dislike listening to actors about their political stances because you're an actor, not a politician.
Yep.
Keep your opinions to yourself. Don't try to. You know what? You're not an expert. You're a great actor. Stick with that.
Mike says he was a great environmentalist. Very smart.
Yeah, that's a good thing, a good legacy to being a great environmentalist, and that's a good thing. You can promote environmental stuff, and anyone can listen to you and understand that the importance of it. But I don't remember him at all railing politically.
No, neither do I. I wouldn't have said he was a political, was a politicized person particularly. Although I know he did a film called The Candidate, didn't he? Back in 1972.
Yeah.
Where I believe he was a suave candidate, and I don't think he won, if I remember that film correctly.
Oh, I don't remember.
Yeah, but anyway, it's a long time ago, and I'm probably wrong. Okay, moving on. Gas prices are set to fall probably about 10 cents a litre, because we'll be moving over to what they call winter gas. And Dan McTeague, president of Canadians for Affordable Energy, is pointing out that when they move to winter gas, typically prices do fall. So at the moment, he's saying, hey, if you can afford it, wait until the prices drop and before you buy your gas.
Yeah, so if you've got a quarter tank of gas, just kind of breathe it out to its fumes until Thursday comes along. But if you can't, don't buy so much until Thursday comes, and you'll save some money on a fill up.
I get mine.
So just throw $10 in to keep you going if until Thursday, if that has to be it.
Yeah, I get.
It's interesting why it is cheaper, and that's because of the additives they put into it. No, I wasn't aware of the additives. I should have known because I worked at a refinery from time to time. And I was aware that the additives were different here and there. But I was working at the refinery down in Nanticoke, and you found, and you think your gasoline, like Petro-Canada got their refinery, somebody else has got their refinery. Everybody comes to the same place to get gas.
Yep.
So the Gales was there at that refinery. Esso was there. Everyone else was there getting their fuel at that refinery, and they would be loading up. Now, I don't know what different additives they might have been putting into each different tank of gas.
It's always
tanker of gas, but they're all every in Shell. They're Shell, Esso, Gales, local. They're all getting their gas there.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the same, same most places, they all get their gas from a common source, and the gas isn't made by Exxon or Shell or Petro-Canada. It's actually made by whoever supplies it.
Well, the Oakville refinery was a Petro-Canada. This one in Nanticoke, I think, is an Esso one, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If they own
all the locals will go.
They sell the gas to everyone.
Yeah. All the locals will go to the same place.
Yeah. Now, when they load up their tank, I don't know if they add or subtract different additives when it goes in to the tanker,
Well,
but
that would
the
be
basic fuel is all the same.
yeah, that would be a contract thing, right?
Yeah, they might. I don't know. It might be
It's
slightly.
always
I have a feeling that it's just exactly the same.
and the story used to go that, and I'm not saying I believe it, but the story used to be that hey, Gale sell cheaper gas. It was gas, watered down gas, and of course it isn't.
No, the only way it could get watered down is if their supply tanks here at the station somehow water was introduced to it, either by leaks.
Watering down agent, not water necessarily, but yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I bought Gale's gas for 30 years, and I don't think.
I don't. I hear those sort of things, and I kind of shrug my shoulders and go, yeah, they couldn't do that, right?
Yeah, and especially when I was at the refinery and I see Gale's tanker there.
Yeah.
So they're getting the same gas as at the Esso station is, or the Petro-Canada station.
So Mike says it's supply and demand. Absolutely, we drive more in the summer, so they charge more to rape us as usual.
That's not entirely true, Mike. And when I get the article up here, I'll.
Well, I was going to say the one thing about this is that typically it has, even with the worst gas prices, we typically got less price during the winter, and it has been so from like mid-September actually to about mid-March that you get lower gas prices. I would think that more people, you might drive more for fun in the summer, but I think more people drive for work in the winter.
It's due to the additives. In the summertime, the additives they put into the gas are more expensive, and they're to make the gasoline more efficient in the summertime. The additives they put in the winter are less expensive, but don't work well in the summer because it's butane they were adding in the winter. I think the summer blend uses here. I'll read it out here. The summer blend uses more alkylate, while winter blend uses more butane, which is a much cheaper component. Now it says the butane evaporates easily, can lead to vapor lock in an engine on hot days, and contributes to ozone and smog pollution. It's also volatile, which is why it's not used in the summer. However, because it combusts easily, it helps your engine run properly in the cold days. So that is their explanation. And so the blends are less expensive. The additives, the alkylate or the butane is cheaper than the alkylate, and that's why they say that it's cheaper.
Yeah. But it has always been the case. I've noticed, and certainly ever since I've come to Canada, it's always been the case that you get cheaper fuel in the winter than in the summer.
Well, that's where it's just explained, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And thank you for that explanation, because that actually is precisely why. And, the thing is, though, that they're talking about a 10-cent drop in price.
We'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't think so myself. I think it will drop, but it will be a couple of cents, 3 or 4 cents, maybe.
There's a limitation. Like when, like I knew the guys that ran Solder Oil, and they would get their gasoline. I think it was from near the end of their tenure or their existence. They were getting their gas from Ultramar. And Ultramar was the one that controlled the gas prices. So gas prices are controlled not by the big companies themselves, and they just they're going to max out on profit. So the individual gas dealer has very limited amounts of room that they can move the gas price compared to the other station down the road. Once in a while, you'll have a gas war, but that's initiated by the big gas companies. It's not initiated by the corner store or the corner gas station. They are very limited on the prices they can sell the gas for, and like I said, one of the guys I know that worked for an independent said that's one of the reasons why they decided to pull out and stop running their business, because their particular supplier insisted on a certain rate for the gas, and they said they can't sell it that way and make any kind of profit. They made that point over and over again, and the company refused. And when they then closed their shops up, then all of a sudden they said, "Oh, well, we would have worked with you." Well, we tried to get you to work with us, and you didn't.
You never did. Yeah. Okay, so just one note about this. This time last year, including the carbon tax, gas price was at $1.48 a litre, which is about where I think it reached its peak in the GTA. And now in Toronto, they're saying it's about $1.43, even despite the elimination of consumer carbon tax. And one of the things that Angela Brown was saying for quite some time at the point about when Polyev was talking about removing, axing the tax, the carbon tax, she was saying that it won't actually have that much long-term effect on the price of gas. And looking at this, she was right.
Yeah, well, gas prices are going to go up. It's just inflation, or just the regular rise in prices. Remember, it was around $1.40, up to $1.50 in that, and then all of a sudden it went down to $1.20. That's around $1.30 or something. But
well, the interesting thing I find is that when I went to the US last, sometime earlier, later last year, the price of gas was identical to when it was pre-COVID.
Oh.
Whereas our price of gas is 30 cents a litre more than it was pre-COVID.
Well, I don't know. I haven't followed it that much, but I do know that the Americans are also complaining about the price of gas. So, and they have less taxes layered on them usually.
They do, yeah, they do. Yeah, the last time I went, the price of gas was $3.87 per litre, and it was about $3.87 prior to COVID per litre. It went up during COVID in the US. Only know that because it was.
You mean gallon? You don't mean gallon?
Yeah, gallon, not liter. Yeah, I mean gallon. Yeah, and it went up during COVID. I only know that because I went there, I think, twice during the course of COVID, and glanced at the price on the way. But after COVID, the price was basically back where it was back in 2019.
Well, there's a number of factors involved there, because I remember going, like, in the late 90s, the gas price went up to $1.20 and better than, and that was quite high for that time period. Like, I mean,
yeah.
So I don't know what all the different factors are. You get a big storm in and around Houston, and the refineries get a problem. There's a hurricane going down there. There's all kinds of factors in the gas. But let's put it this way: they're getting money from the government for subsidies, and they're making money hand over fist, and they're not working hard enough to get the environmental stuff. I don't know. It just goes on and on. But
yeah,
the story here is you're going to get cheaper gas, and that's because of the additives.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, all right. Freeland is going to be leaving politics.
I think we should talk actually more of a local thing, and I would like to go over the abatement issue.
Okay.
Really, because that's been a very important thing here. That was, and if I get it up here for a minute, I'll bring up the issue here. Now, Niagara Regional Council faces social media scorn after Charlie Kirk post. So our regional council here, Haley Bateman, has ignited a firestorm of controversy on social media over her remarks in the wake of the shooting death of American conservative influencer Charlie Kirk. And this, I will read it off, what she says. I came home, went on social media, and was triggered by somebody's post about Charlie Kirk and how much he's going to be missed, how sorry they are about what happened, and praying for his friends and family, and all this bullshit, she says. And she carries on. I cannot believe what I'm reading because this is what he wanted. He wanted this. He worked his 31 years to get to this place. Very unlikely statement there, since he was 31 when he died. Kirk was shot and killed in Utah. Okay. And anyway, Bateman also referred to the site of the 2012 mass shooting of Newton, and goes on to say, what a violent way to lose your life. What a violent way for children of Newton to lose their lives. And he kept on going. He fed off of it. He got money from those groups who do these things. And now they're manipulating story. Yeah. Obviously the Republicans are trying to use this as this whole thing, but I'd like to talk about Bateman. It was remarkable. I think she was remarkably insensitive, don't you?
Well,
this is a time when a man was murdered. He is a nonviolent man. He was a debater. That he was exercising as free speech in a unique manner. He didn't froth at the mouth on a like Jones does or Limbaugh did. He went and he debated and he tried and he said, "Prove me wrong." Now, I don't like much of what he said, but don't you think Bateman was rather insensitive here? That's my take. What do you
think? I do think she's being a bit insensitive and joining, the shooting of Kirk being compared to the shooting of the mass shooting of in the school in Newton is a bit of a stretch, and I do get that she's concerned very much about the kids who died at that school, the 27 kids who died, or 27 people who died at that school, and that is horrible, for us all. We don't like those kind of deaths, but again, I don't know that you can link the two necessarily. Yeah, well, know that Kirk is a gun person, a gun nut, and
he is a gun person. As a matter of fact, there's a quote here that.
Yeah, but again, was it right for her to say that? And hey, she does have a right to put her opinion out. There's a couple of people here about saying, I don't know why anybody would vote for her, right? And she needs to be gone for supporting murder. Actually, she doesn't support murder. She just basically commenting upon that's how he lived his life and that's how he expected his death.
Yeah, so it's very, very controversial. I think the great irony here is Charlie Kirk said that unfortunately we'll have to see people killed in order to keep our Second Amendment alive. So he says that's an unfortunate consequence of having the Second Amendment is some people are going to get killed in order to do that, and he happened to be one of them. And so I thought that was a great irony. I was trying to get his actual quote here. But the fact of the matter is, I don't know why she jumped in with that kind of fury.
Yeah.
And that kind of division is like, first and foremost, a young man with 2 children and a wife got brutally murdered while he was trying to engage students, young people, in conversation. He was there to present his view and to argue and debate openly, which is perfectly all right. You can dispute his opinions and whatever. And now when everybody jumps on
he wanted you to dispute his opinions. That's the thing about it. And yes, I know that he had a special way of making sure that his view succeeded. But the point being is he wanted debate.
Yes, and after watching a few, I see that he's very, very prepared most of the time. And when he was sort of losing the edge, he would go on a tangent about God or Jesus or something like that. But
Yeah.
he was a debater, and he put himself out there, prove me wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
But so Haley here, or Bateman, was remarkably insensitive, and she should have thought this through a little bit. She sees that he was a right-wing influencer, and in her mind, he was a bad influencer. But the fact of the matter is, he was a lawful person doing a lawful thing, and he was murdered. Now, the irony of all this is Charlie Kirk predicted that this might happen to him. He felt that he might get shot, and
I don't know.
And he also said that we have to lose a few people. Unfortunately, some people have to die in order for us to have our gun rights. And he's one of the ones that died of a bullet.
Okay, so here's a question. Some of the criticism that she's drawn is that that she was supporting murder, right? But yet in her statement, I don't see that. I cannot believe when I'm reading what I'm reading, because this is what he wanted. He wanted this. He worked 31 years to get to this place, i.e., be murdered. That's not supporting murder. I don't see that as supporting murder. Right?
No, I don't either.
Critical, irrespective of the words, and I don't agree with her words, but I see it as critical of Kirk. That is all.
Here's the quote by Charlie Kirk when he was talking about Kirk had referenced the U.S. Constitution in relation to firearm violence in 2023 during a Turing Point USA event, saying it's worth it to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our God-given rights. And he happened to be one of the victims of that gun violence. I felt that was rather ironic.
Yeah.
But
well, there's nothing actually wrong with what he stated there.
No, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. I was just pointing out the irony of it.
Yeah. It's a belief that he's a right to have.
And a lot of people have that belief.
Yeah.
That's an unfortunate byproduct of the Second Amendment, that you're going to have a higher rates of murder and gunplay.
Yeah.
And but to get back to what she was saying, and the comments against her were overblown too. As you said, somebody said, she's endorsing murder. Well, no, that wasn't it either. What is basically what we all should just boil it down to initially is a young man with a family was murdered, and he wasn't doing anything wrong, and half the country didn't like what he had to say, but so what?
Yeah.
Now they're talking about coming after left-wing influencers because they don't like what they hear them saying. So I think the point was lost here. I think Haley Bateman was remarkably insensitive. She did not think well enough of this. A little later on, you could debate Charlie Kirk's influence, what he did. But at this particular point, it's a tragic event. It sickened me. Actually, when Charlie Kirk got shot, it sickened me. My gut roiled over, because this is the same kind of violence that we saw during the 60s when Martin Luther King got shot, when JFK got shot, Robert Kennedy got shot, George Wallace got shot. There was an explosion of violence and assassinations. Ronald Reagan got shot, but he survived, et cetera, et cetera. So these kind of this kind of gun violence, and when the society gets divided like this, and you get responses like she did, which was really quite insensitive, and then get comments back like she endorsed murder. Like, you can see the division here. Who is anyone thinking? Anyone using their head?
And that comment is quite right, quite rightly wrong. Okay, so what a vile human being. A man was murdered, his wife lost her husband, 2 children, and no longer have a father, right? This is one of the comments about her. And Haley felt the need to film herself stating that he asked for it. Further comment, right?
This is not the time for bad guy, good guy, stuff like that. A man got killed, right? And he was legally, he was doing what he was doing. I think it was a good thing that Charlie Kirk was out there doing what he could do, because you had to prove him wrong, and that is a good thing. And in my mind, I proved him wrong all the time. So I was very comfortable with the American public debating that, considering those things, and rejecting on the whole his ideology. But he may have.
But again, there's also mischaracterization of Bateman, right? Because somebody was saying that she lost her job as a teacher with Niagara District School Board, when she was temporarily employed with DSBN, but not as a teacher.
Well, you see what's happening, right? You see how they attacked Bateman. Now, the one comment, was remarkably cold. He was a father and all that. That's what should be said, because that's what it was. Look, you're a remarkably insensitive person here at this particular time. And then to go on a political rant about Charlie Kirk at this particular time, when he was doing what he is permitted to do, and what is asked of us to do is to debate and come up with different opinions.
Yeah.
Right. That's what he was doing. And I think she lost that. She may have said that. Now, on the other hand, I don't think he should be honored. I don't think the flag should go down half-mast.
No.
I don't think he's a right-wing influencer that made money by being a right-wing influencer in a particular way.
Yep.
And he was not an honored person nationwide. He wasn't like a Martin Luther King.
Well, here's the question: is that exactly? He wasn't like a Martin Luther King, and other than his murder, I think that he would be forgotten in history.
No, I don't think so. Eventually, he would be. If you go back, I've got books. I got a book or two about the kind of right-wing and left-wing rhetoric that was used decades ago in the 30s, 40s, and 50s that we don't even think about anymore. It's all gone. It's all past. So that's all gone in the past, and may have influenced those times. Charlie Kirk definitely was influencing our times. But I think the basic thing is a young man died who was a father and a husband, and it was insane that he died the way he did.
Yeah.
Doing what he did. He was not committing any kind of crimes, and he was asking you, prove me wrong. He wasn't telling you my opinion is better than yours. He's saying I can prove my opinion is better than yours. Take me on.
And actually, in comparison to many right-wing commentators who basically will just be repeating a block of statements that they've heard before. So Kirk is different because he did say, "Prove me wrong." Right?
Yes.
He was educated in his position. Whether you like it or not, that's different matter. You're entitled to like his position or not like his position, and just as much as he's entitled to actually research his position and present his position.
Yeah. So basically, I don't know. Alex Jones, for instance, like he froths at the mouth and gets all emotional. He's a right-wing influencer. He tried to tell everybody that Sandy Hook was a huge controversy and it didn't really happen, and he had to pay a lot of money to do that. Now, Charlie Kirk wasn't a guy that did that. He wouldn't have denied the fact that Sandy Hook happened. He may have explained it in ways that would support the gun control thing. I mean, I think what Bateman was saying here, basically, Charlie Kirk said, well, unfortunately, we're going to have to lose some people to gun violence in order to keep our Second Amendment. And she points out Sandy Hook, but she didn't, this is not the time and place for that.
Okay, so Salah Wazreddin, a local anti-war, anti-racism activist, posted an image of Bateman saying, "We stand with Haley, stand against the campaign of hate, like and like Councillor Bateman stands with us."
I'm not so sure Charlie Kirk had anything to do with hate. He definitely had some opinions that were more based on Old Testament Christianity kind of thing. Mm-hmm. He was in a kind of an Old Testament Christian. His wife was Roman Catholic, by the way. So, and
that's fine.
Anyway, I think we could kind of boil this right down. The reaction Bateman got was some of which was overblown. A lot of it they couldn't put in the paper, so you had this violent reaction to her. You had more sensible ones that said, "Look, what's the matter with you? Can't you understand that somebody died and that was it? And can't you deal with that first? And you have to criticize the guy right now, right? You know what I mean? You can criticize him later and his points of view later, but right now, just kind of, back away a bit."
Diodati is basically saying whether we agree with his passionate stance on political topics or not, perhaps what has shaken us so deeply about his passing is the stark reminder that no matter where we stand in relation to our neighbours or our opponents, free speech, open dialogue, and the ability to have difficult conversations is a freedom we must not take for granted.
Yes, and we have to. And right now, they're debating in the States, and I'm worried about this because the usual stance of anyone in the States up till now, or anyone in the West, was, I disagree with your points of view, but I will defend your right to have them.
Yeah.
But now they're saying
the so-called Voltaire statement.
Yeah, where
Voltaire never actually said, by the way.
Yeah, but it was so it was more like I dislike or I disagree with everything you say, but I defend to the death your right to say it.
Yeah,
that was, I think, originally the way it went. But
exactly, yeah.
The fact is, right now they're talking about censoring a lot of left-wing influencers and stuff like that in the States. They're not talking about the censorship of the right wing, even though there's been a lot of political violence by the right. Shapiro's place in Pennsylvania was was firebombed, arson. The Democrat in Minnesota, lawmaker, she was murdered along with her husband. That was right winger. Right winger got into Pelosi's house with a hammer. He was a right winger. So you can't say that this extraordinary extremism is one-sided. It's on both sides, and I think we have to be very careful about that. But the fact that the administration right now in the States is trying to focus in on left-only extremism, and we don't even know if this guy that shot Charlie Kirk was that much of an extremist. And he seems to be a lone nut, which is kind of like like the Unabomber type of dude, like.
And the attempts to paint him as an extreme left winger have thus far failed. His parentage is everything about him is indicating that in fact he's more likely to be right wing, and there are different factions on the right as there are different factions on the left in politics anyway.
Well, there's nothing to say that he was a right winger. He was raised by right wing values and Republican values. I'm not even sure right wing is the right word to use here. Republican values. He was from a Republican family, raised by Republicans, so that doesn't mean anything to me. A guy can go nutty any old way he wants.
Yeah,
So this guy was a lone wolf, and he's an odd person, and to put too much into it is wrong.
Well, Mike says giving a mic to a dangerous person like Charlie Kirk is wrong. What he was pushing was dangerous and wrong. You call that debating? It's recruiting. There is a responsibility with free speech, I think is what he meant to say.
Hate speech is protected in the United States under free speech. That's what Pam Bondi was reminded of lately when she said she was going after the violent, the hate, what she called hate speech. And of course, she was referring most of the left. Well, that's protected. And Charlie Kirk was protected. It's up to us. And the whole point of having that free speech is to educate yourself on what that person is saying. Charlie Kirk was very influential, but he wasn't hugely influential. And he was trying to grow his support for his ideas, and he debated them. I don't think he was dangerous. I don't think he was dangerous because we have our will and we have our ability to listen to his ideas, accept or reject them as we wish. So I don't agree with Mike there as him being dangerous. I think that I don't think he was that messianic of a type of leader. He was talking to people pretty much. He was talking to people of his own ilk. When he went to a debate and even maybe have bested somebody in a debate, that didn't change that person's ideas. But I don't know. I didn't really think of Charlie Kirk as a dangerous guy. But then again, I don't know much about him. I have had to catch up. I've had to look at a few of his debates and read about him and stuff like that. I disagree. I don't think he was a dangerous guy. I think he was a bit of a nut.
I don't think he was a dangerous guy. I do think I didn't like what his viewpoint was. I think there were a few things that were way too far right from my view.
Well, yeah, women being subservient to men because
that sort of stuff is like that sort of stuff I can never abide.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter whether you're a right-wing influencer or a left-wing influencer. Sooner or later, you're going to make a stupid comment, and people are going to jump on that. And I don't think Charlie Kirk.
And again, the other aspect of what he has to say, and I have the problem always when the so-called Christian right speak, Christianity and right-wing politics. Christianity is abhorrent anyway, just as is every religion abhorrent. But then I don't believe in religion, so I'm free to say that, right?
Well,
and you're free to disagree with me.
Well, Charlie Kirk wanted the Second Amendment. He wanted an expansion of the Second Amendment, and he said it's worth it to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year, so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our God-given rights. And he happened to be a victim of that himself, which I think is a brutal irony. The other thing is that Bateman should have thought better. Yeah. I mean, even if that's what she wanted to say, she knew that she was going to bring a lot of BS upon herself by not being more careful in her words. This is a tender moment. I am upset that Charlie Kirk, I didn't like much of what Charlie Kirk had to say, but I was very upset that the fact of a guy exercising his rights, as much as I didn't like what he had to say, was murdered in cold blood.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on.
Yeah. So what else we got here?
Okay, so Fernwood Park is going to be temporarily. It's closed yesterday and today because of spraying of. I can't pronounce that word. Phragmites.
Yeah, phragmites.
Phragmites. Yeah. I don't know what they are, but they're spraying on it. They're spraying on it yesterday and today. So stay away from there. Just as a gentle reminder.
Yeah, phragmites are an invasive species, and like a lot of invasive species, they haven't evolved in the area, so they have certain advantages over the plants that have evolved and have checks and balances against each other, so we survive. When you get an invasive species, they quite often have advantages to your native species because they haven't been put in check by the evolution of the local area. So they end up taking off. And that's unfortunately what they're doing here. So they have to spray the park or other parks. So be aware of that. This is just a public announcement. Basically, be aware that they're going to have to be putting some pretty deadly herbicides on this invasive species. So it would not be fit for children or anybody to use.
Okay. Charges have been laid in a summer camp death.
Yes, this is a very sad thing. There were two twin brothers, and they were at this camp, and they were going back and forth to Kiwanis Aquatic Center. I've been there a few times. It's a great facility. It's got a library. It's got an aquatic center. There's parks there. It's great for the kids. Unfortunately, a 70-something-year-old man wasn't paying attention to what he was doing, and he just drove onto the pedestrian part of and struck some people. I don't know if he was looking at his phone or what he was doing. He was in a parking lot, so I can't see him getting out of control unless he had a sneeze attack.
Can't see him using his phone.
Well, obviously he was distracted where he was driving.
Yeah.
That explanation hasn't come up, but he's being charged.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he injured a few people, but most tragically, he killed an 8-year-old kid. He'll never be able to take that back. He's 70 years old until the day he dies. If he lives to be 100, that's going to be on his mind forever. Why wasn't he more aware of what he was doing around children and people like that in a parking lot? So I'm not going to criticize the guy yet until I find out what caused him to veer off the parking lot into pedestrian areas. But the fact of the matter is he's being charged. And one of the reasons why he can be charged is because the Ford government earlier on extended dangerous driving type of charges into parking lots and stuff. Prior to that, it didn't include those.
Yeah. And this is at the Lester B. Pearson Park at about 11:40 when they left the paved portion of the parking lot and went up onto the sidewalk.
Lester B. Pearson. Now Lester B. Pearson was the last prime minister to balance the budget in 1968.
There you
we
go.
We had no debt. We had no deficit. Right? We borrowed money and paid it off in 1968. He made sure that the war debt was paid off by 1968. And then he retired and handed it over to Pierre Trudeau, who then started the march of huge deficits that we still live with today.
There you go. Yeah. And basically, I don't know. It just sounds as if the gentleman responsible just, I don't know, was either lost. I hope it's, well, it's just bad anyway. And loss of children is always bad.
Yeah, it's. I think the takeaway here was the point that he could be prosecuted because they have changed the law, and I'm agreeing with that.
Yeah.
And I don't know what will come of this. The tragedy is a tragedy. That's all there is to it. A cop friend of mine told me about an 8-year-old girl that got killed when he was on duty, and the guy that killed her was driving a car very slowly, but there was an ice patch, and the child walked in front of him, and he could not stop the car no matter what he was doing. And though he didn't hit her very hard or very fast, it was enough to kill her. Well, and the guy, the cop told me that the guy was beside himself. He couldn't believe what he had done, and the cop himself had to turn the case over to someone else because the child was lying there as if he was just lying there with his eyes open, didn't look as if the child was dead. And that got to him. So he had to turn the case over to someone else.
Yeah. And the whole point is that something like in a Canadian winter, you can be driving really quite slow and still have an accident because of ice.
It's happened to me a few times.
Yeah. Oh, it happened to me once because what happened is I thought the car was almost at a stop. And in fact, I was holding the car on the brake, and it just would not stop. It was it was just sliding forward, and gently tapped the truck in front.
Yeah, so all kinds of that. I got in an accident. I was out of work for half a year because a guy could not control his truck, his pickup truck, on slippery roads.
Yeah,
he was driving recklessly, but when he came in sight of me, then he couldn't control his truck and he drove directly into me. Meanwhile, I saw him coming and I was stopped, but he wasn't, and that was road conditions. Any other time that wouldn't have happened.
Any other time of the year, it would never have happened. Yeah. Exactly. And what happened to me is literally that was a patch of ice that you would never see.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm glad the person wasn't there, and it was only the slightest tap on the vehicle and it did no damage at all to the truck in front of me.
Did the guy claim that he had whiplash?
No, in fact, he kind of got out. He only knew it happened because his coffee vibrated.
Anyway, what else we got here?
Yeah. No, the only other thing is about Freeland leaving the cabinet.
Yeah. So Christian Freeland, who had been controversial near the end of Justin Trudeau's reign, when she pulled out of the when she resigned as finance minister because Trudeau wanted to get rid of her and put somebody else in. He wanted to sideline her. He didn't really know what he was doing. He was kind of desperate, juggling this and that. He wanted to get rid of her so that he could put somebody like Mark Carney in, but Mark Carney didn't want that job. I don't blame him. So he was anyway. He was desperate. Now we find that Chrystia Freeland is leaving. She was moved to the Ministry of Transportation, and now she's moving out after 12 years of being there. But we also find that a lot of other Trudeau.
She's remaining on as an MP, so she's not resigning as an MP. She's remaining as an MP for at least 6 months. But she is going to.
She will not run for re-election.
She would, yeah, that's what she's made clear. She's not running for re-election, and it's got nothing to do with her family or. I'm not leaving to spend more time with my family or because of the burden of elected office is too heavy to bear. She made the point. Right?
Yeah, she didn't use that stupid excuse that everybody does.
Yeah.
Somebody gets caught in a bit of a situation where their finances or something like that don't measure up, and there's an investigation, and all of a sudden they retire because they want to spend more time with the family. Well, no, she's not playing that game. So what she's doing is she's just pretty much her. There is no future for her now in the Liberal Party because Carney's going to fashion that party on the way he wants it. And we find here that she's not the only one that's moving away. Now she's going to keep her seat, obviously, because Parliament is it's a minority government, so you don't want to lose any of your seats, at least in the short term. Yeah. But the idea here is that I see that other ministers are being sort of moved away. So the Trudeau era of ministers are kind of being pushed aside. Carney's picked which ones are valuable to him. Yeah. He's keeping them, and the other ones he's sidelining.
Yeah. The other thing to note, of course, is that what she is doing, she's of Ukrainian descent. So she's actually got a role, which is to take on a special representative for reconstruction of Ukraine. So she's Canada's special representative in that respect.
Well, that will be some time to come if Putin has any, like Putin's is just outwitted Trump over and over again, and the West. Basically, they're trying to get wise to him now, but Trump is the only one that really can't get it just yet. But I think he'll probably come around in the end. That Putin is just playing him, and so the reconstruction of Ukraine will be sometime in the future. So yeah, I think it probably is a good place for her.
I think that what is going to happen here is that's going to be a role where she's going to be a spokesperson for quite a period of time, on the Canadian behalf, trying to assist wherever she can in that process.
I think the first thing that she's advised Zelensky, because of the cost of the war in Ukraine, the first thing she told Zelensky is that he should cancel his Disney prescription. Disney Channel. That's what she did. Yeah, remember?
Yeah.
We should.
So because she said that she canceled Disney, I went out and bought it, and a week later I canceled it.
Yeah, so that was you can't, everybody's having a hard time, so you know what we did? We canceled our Disney Channel, so she's trying to tell everybody, look, cancel your, that'll be so that's why I made that joke. I'm pretty sure Zelensky doesn't have the Disney Channel.
Yeah. Isn't that called handbag economics?
Yeah. Anyway, I think we're done, eh?
Yep, we are. We
Now,
are.
bring up Gaza again. There's a massive push in Gaza City right now. I don't know if any of the hostages are going to survive. Of course, Netanyahu care less about them. Trump says get the hostages back. This person, that person talked about the hostages. But I think pretty much everyone knows that there are less and less hostages going to survive of all this.
I doubt there are any left anyway. It's been 2 years.
Well, there was 22 they knew that were alive.
Yeah.
And Netanyahu is going to make sure there is no peace deal because he keeps killing the negotiators or trying to kill them. And he's going to make this last push. This may be the last time he's going to be able to do that because the world is so fed up with him. And what he wants to do is a greater Israel thing the best he can. Hamas is finished no matter what you do, because even if Israel moves out, no one else is going to be able to put up with them.
Yeah.
So Israel's going to the IDF are going to go into Gaza, but that's the same thing. They have no real regard for the people that are living there. They shut off their food, their water. They are a brutal, and I call it a genocide, because I absolutely do think that they want to make it impossible for people to live there. Remember when Trump first came in, he said, "Oh, it's impossible for people to live there, so you got to move everybody out and fix it." And that was music to Netanyahu's ears. But then they had the ceasefire, and people started moving back to their homes. It's exactly what he didn't want to happen. He didn't want to make it look as if they could recover. Anyway, I want to just keep that always on the front burner, because with all the politics that we have here facing, something as disastrous as that keeps getting moved farther away from the front page, and I think it should be on the front page every day.
All right. Have a great day, everybody, and see you tomorrow.